Well, to help us unpack yesterday's ruling, Elizabeth Wydra joins us now. She's the president of the Constitutional Accountability Center. Elizabeth, thanks so much for being here. A lot of the initial reaction to this judgment is just the huge amount of the fine. In your mind, was that at all warranted? How did they arrive at that number?
Yeah, well, it's President's Day weekend, so a good time to reflect that presidents, even including former presidents, are not kings and can be held accountable under the law. And former President Donald Trump is certainly feeling that after that really blistering, massive judgment from the court that came out yesterday. And they came at this, the number is massive, but it is valued based on the ill-gotten gains from the Trump organization artificially and fraudulently inflating the value of its assets consistently over time in order to get cheaper financing, in particular from banks in New York. And so the way that the judge came up with this number was by looking at the various properties, looking at the gains that were achieved through basically lying about the value of the Trump wealth in order to get this favorable financing. Now, when you add that $355 million for Trump and the Trump organization to the judgments already imposed by a jury of everyday Americans in the E. Jean Carroll case, that puts Donald Trump at nearly $500 million in judgments from the civil cases that he's already faced. And that could have potentially devastating consequences.
What do you make of the former president's defense that there are no real victims here? No one was defrauded. Banks made money off of what was repaid, maybe not as much as they could have, according to the case and the ruling from this judge. But his defense is that there wasn't a victim as is traditionally seen when you use this kind of a statute, when you go after this kind of a case.
Yeah, so, that's certainly an argument that many folks in white-collar cases try to make. It generally does not hold up well under the statutes themselves because there is a general interest in having a truthful, accurate, reliable system in place. We want to make sure that when, banks are making decisions, when, you might see this in tax cases, which is, also something where people make this argument. You need to have an expectation that there will be a reliable, truthful, accurate system in place. And the judge found that the Trump organization and Trump and his two sons, committed fraud when they were able to achieve better financing terms for themselves in order to make more money for themselves. And that included things like lying about the size of his apartment in Trump Tower and basically just not being truthful. The judge said that this was not a close case, that the frauds committed leapt off the page and truly shocked the conscience.
So the former president has pledged to appeal, and he's indicated there might be consequences if that doesn't work out. Listen to what he said.
We'll appeal, we'll be successful, I think, because frankly, if we're not successful, New York State is gone.
What do you make of that in terms of, what is he talking about? Is he talking about business that would leave the state in your mind?
Yeah, well, New Yorkers are tough, so I doubt that this decision will cause New York to crumble. But, I think that, his appeal will also be an expensive proposition for him because he needs to put up collateral, which is usually about 100 to 125% of the judgment owed. And in this case, when you're talking about 364 total, 355 for him and the organization, $1 million, then that's quite a bit of money.